Welcome back to the Dojo, everybody. This is True Talk with TruMotion, where a couple of guys talk about how to make the world a better place and hopefully make your world a little bit better in the process. Now, we say a couple of guys, but it's a little bit different today because, as you guys know, Stephen is out of town. So, my name is Mark, and my co-hosts today are my parents. So, we have Mark Sr. and Susan in the dojo today. So, let's make sure we give them some good attention. So real quick, we'll start with you, Dad. Dad, let's do a little background with you. Like, where were you born? When were you born? All that stuff. Kind of give a little people a background about yourself.
Okay, I was born in Yuma, Arizona.
Okay.
In 1955,
Wow.
which makes me an old man.
I was going to say, I don't think people were born that late, but that's okay.
But yeah.
And you were, we can't remember the hospital, right?
No, I don't remember. It was a military.
Were you born on the base?
I was born on the base,
Okay.
I believe.
So you were a Air Force brat, correct?
I'm an Air Force brat. It was, my dad retired in, I can't remember when he retired. He had a few years in the Air Force.
I was going to say, didn't he retire in like the 70s?
Yeah. I think around 70.
Because he was in Vietnam.
Right. He was in Vietnam in the 60s. So he flew out of Karat Air Force Base in Thailand.
Okay.
But,
yeah, so for a little more background, Grandpa Diaz was a obviously 20-year plus Air Force veteran.
30 years.
30-year plus Air Force veteran and retired as a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. He flew combat missions in North Korea, or the Korean War, not North Korea, Korean War and Vietnam, correct?
Right. He flew F-105s in Vietnam.
Yes.
And I can't remember the jet he flew in the Korea.
I know. I can't remember either. I remember
a night fighter.
Yeah, I remember him telling us, and I went home and I bought the models of the airplanes because I want to put them together. So, and then he had to retire from flying because
he blew out an eardrum on a dive bomb mission.
22nd combat mission, he blew out his eardrum.
Right.
So it kind of grounded him.
Right.
Okay.
You can't fly with blown out eardrums.
Nope. Can't fly with blown out eardrums. So that's why you're an Air Force brat. You traveled around quite a bit. Do you remember how many places you lived as a kid?
Well, I mainly lived in the southeastern United States, Texas, Florida, Alabama.
Okay.
And like I was born in Arizona, but then we moved down to Panama Canal Zone, Panama in 69. So I was down there from 69 to 74.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved, I had a bad motorcycle accident in Panama, so my dad wanted me to live in a better area, so we moved to Miami, Florida, where he went to Homestead Air Force Base. And he stayed there until he retired.
Okay.
But Florida was a lot easier on my body recovering from the accident.
Yeah, you were in a pretty bad accident.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so from Florida, did you just stay there most of the time before you flew out to California?
Yeah, I got on with Western Airlines in 1978.
Okay.
And then I worked in Miami for a couple months. It was only a part-time position in Miami.
Oh, okay.
And the home base was Los Angeles, California. I knew I could go full-time in Los Angeles.
All right.
So it's in the 78, I went into L.A.
Okay.
And I did go full-time ramp out there.
All right. So that's the reason why you moved out to L.A. was for a full-time position.
Right, full-time job at Western Airlines.
Okay. That transitioned into Delta.
Right.
Okay.
Here, when I moved out here to Salt Lake City in 84, not long after that, we merged with Delta Airlines.
Okay.
And formed Delta Airlines.
All right. Okay. So speaking of California, Mom...
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a little bit of background about yourself. Like, you were born. Do you remember the hospital you were born in?
I sure do.
Yeah.
So good segue. So California, that's where I was born.
Okay.
At California Lutheran Hospital, downtown Los Angeles.
All right. I didn't know they had a Lutheran hospital.
Yeah,
in
they
California.
did. It was the first physician-owned hospital.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
The doctors
The doctors
purchased,
on the house,
and this was in the late 1800s. It was a Lutheran
Okay.
doctor. So, yeah, on 6th Street and Hope.
Okay.
I like that.
Yes, Hope.
Hope.
It's a good place to have a
Yeah,
hospital.
actually, yeah. And a little side note. I was born at Lutheran Hospital. You were born at Little
Company of Mary.
Little Company of Mary. I
Yeah.
thought there was a cross in there. So Little Company of Mary, and Amy was born in Baptist Hospital, Miami.
Okay, so we kind of covered all the spectrums there.
Well, we did.
All the sects of
there you
Christianity.
go.
Yeah. For another little background, Amy is my older sister. We are 18 months apart.
Yes.
We were born pretty close together. Growing up, everybody thought we were twins.
Yes, that's true. They did, because you were so big for your age.
Yes, I was big for my age.
Mhm.
So, all right. So then, while you're in California, kind of like talk us through, because obviously, for those that people don't know, obviously, because they're hearing / meeting you guys
Okay.
for the first time, you're a musician. So
Right.
when did you start getting into music?
When? I started taking lessons at 5.
Okay.
I'm not really sure how that all happened and why.
Mm-hmm.
I have a suspicion my mom wanted an accompanist because she loves to sing. So,
that would make sense.
That would make
Yeah.
sense.
So
Yeah,
if
wouldn't
anybody
it?
that knows our family knows, I call her Nana. Her name's Beverly. Knows her. She loves being kind of the center of attention, and she loves singing.
Right.
So, what better way to
Keep
have
that
an
up.
excuse to sing than having a daughter play the piano? So you were you played the piano.
I did. I played the
Okay.
piano. That's when I started lessons, and I continued with lessons right through college. I have a degree in music history and literature.
From where?
From Long Beach State.
Okay, Long Beach State.
Yeah.
All right.
And I just always played the piano in church.
Mm-hmm.
I had odd jobs growing up, playing in little wedding chapels, learned a lot there.
Okay.
And yeah,
Nice.
so it was the only thing kind of that I knew. So
Yeah.
why not get a degree in it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you started playing when you were real young.
Mhm.
This is actually good for students to hear, because we all go through periods of whatever it is that we're learning.
Mhm.
Was there any point where you're like, all right, I'm done. Like, I've had enough of it. I want to quit. I want
Yeah.
to do something else.
Yeah. Actually, there wasn't for
Really?
me.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's very understandable with piano because it's such a solo
Mm-hmm.
instrument.
Yeah.
You rarely, it's not like a band instrument. You have that camaraderie with everybody around you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very typical for middle schoolers to drop out of piano lessons.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a little sense.
But I had fun doing it, so
Yeah, you've played professionally for what, 50 years? Over 40 for sure.
well, yeah, over 40. Yeah, everything I've done is with music has been on a freelance basis.
Mm-hmm.
I did teach at Salt Lake Lutheran High School.
Mm-hmm.
The memory of it. Hello.
It's no longer there anymore.
Right.
You were the one that started their choir program, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did. So I was there. That was a learning experience. And then I played for over 10 years as one of the featured pianists at Nordstrom. And
Yeah.
that was a dream job.
Yeah, I remember that. You were playing at all of them, like the
Yeah.
one in Fashion Place Mall, the downtown, what was it? Crossroads Mall at the time.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Crossroads Mall.
Now you could call it Gateway, I guess.
Right, Gateway.
Okay.
Then University Mall in Provo or
Oh.
Orem.
You drove all the way up there a few
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
Okay. Nice. All right. So with the music, yeah, because you would play professionally. Also, you would go help out at like retirement centers.
Right.
And you also got in and was a big factor in the Dream Center as well, correct?
Oh, yeah. Right. So which one should I go to?
Let's start with the Dream Center.
The Dream Center. Okay, sometime in the late, between turn of the century?
Yeah, 2000 and what, 2000?
2000. Yeah, that's
no, it was even further than that.
It was like around 2007 that I had this concept of a music academy in the west side of Salt Lake City, particularly the Glendale area.
Yeah.
And I just remember one day having a distinct impression on how much talent is in this area. But the kids really don't have the opportunity to find out if they're any good at it.
Yeah.
So I started this academy that just offered music, art, and at the time I used the word dance, but it later became known as movement because at one time we did have karate there.
Yeah, and boxing
and boxing,
some other things.
right.
Yeah. Now, for those of you guys that aren't very familiar with the Glendale area, it is very much populated with refugees and a lot of immigrants that are coming to the United States. And I think at one point they said that in a 2-mile radius,
Right.
90 languages were spoken.
Right.
So, I mean, we're dealing with kids that their version of what it is to do things is very skewed from American kids.
Definitely.
Like, I remember you telling me a story how you guys raised money and you bought guitars for all the kids that did the guitar program.
Yeah.
And one of the families actually brought the guitar back.
Right.
Because they didn't think their child should have a guitar when they were struggling to eat.
Right. That was...
And that kind of... I heard that, and I know it hit you hard, and it hit me hard pretty, too. I was like, damn. Okay, that's...
Right.
That's different.
Yeah, it sure is different. Kind of had to prove to the mom that it was okay. And get her some basic needs that she felt like she needed.
Yeah.
It did start to become more than just the music, art, and movement.
Yeah.
You know, we had a regular, around Easter, a pancake breakfast for the whole community.
Yeah, you really did a lot out there. That was really nice. And then you would also go and do a program or a presentation for retirement centers.
Right.
And I would do something with you.
Right.
Where I would do, it was a fan form while you would play a certain song.
Right.
So interestingly enough, like I struggle doing that form regularly, like normal speed now, because I did it so many times at a certain tempo and speed that it's like I can't transition out of that.
See, it was so implanted in you.
Well, we did it so many times.
We did.
So I was like, now you're like, hey, can you do it regular speed? And I'm like, nope, not anymore.
That was fun. Yeah.
So, so Dad moved out into LA in 78. Okay, right?
78, 79.
78, 79. When did you two meet?
79.
79, okay. How did you guys meet? We'll get two different stories. Dad, do you remember how you first met Mom?
Well, I was working so much at the airport that I passed this Baptist church when I would go to the airport, and I thought, well, I'm going to stop and see if I can't go to a service.
Okay.
And the only thing I could get at that time was a college career prayer meeting.
Okay.
So I started going to the prayer meeting, and not long after I started going, Susan started going.
Okay.
And we go after every prayer meeting. We'd go have breakfast at the like the Denny's or something like that.
Okay.
And Susan wasn't gonna go, but I said, "Come on, I'll take you."
Okay.
So I took her. I grabbed her, threw her in the car.
Oh yeah, that's all chivalrous and caveman style.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we started. We had a great time talking at the restaurant. And the next service we went to next week when we went to prayer meeting, I was working so hard out at the airport that I said my prayer request and I fell asleep. We sit on these soft pillows and stuff, and I fell asleep.
You'd fall asleep, huh?
And so I woke up when all the commotion after everybody started. So I said, "I'll see y'all later. I'm going." And I took off. And so I guess Susan was a little worried about that. And the next day, I get a phone call, and it was her saying, "How you doing?" And I told her what happened.
Yeah.
And we laughed about it. And I said, "Where are you calling from?" And she was calling down at the end of the street.
Oh.
Because she didn't exactly want to come over.
Now, when
right
you say
away.
the end of the street, where were we?
In
Hermosa
Beach, California.
Okay. Now,
I lived pretty much right by the Strand.
okay. So you had an apartment on the beach, huh?
Yeah.
Dang, that's the life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Now that little shack it's probably like $5,000 a month rent for a studio apartment.
well, now it is, but it was
But not-
reasonable when I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Man,
so
too bad it's not that way anymore, huh?
No.
So
Okay.
she came over and we went and had some coffee at the coffee shop,
Yeah.
and it was just a good feeling.
Nice. Okay, so that's Dad's story. Well, what's your story on how you met? Is it pretty much the same
Do
thing?
you know what? I am really surprised that the sequence was just like I remembered it.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, and it really was like that. However, the whole throwing in the car and all of that stuff and
Oops.
going into Denny's, Mark likes to tell a colorful story, and he's a good storyteller.
Yeah.
But I got in at my own free will.
Okay. All right. You weren't dragged kicking and screaming with your head out the window. Let me go.
However, I do remember for myself, now he doesn't remember this, I had myself plastered up against the door,
Okay.
just really clinging to the door.
Now, when you say door, do you remember the car you were driving?
Yeah. You want to say, Mark?
My Nova?
Yeah. What year was that?
A 1976 Nova.
1970. What color was it?
It was a blue.
Blue Nova.
Blue Bandit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But it was my first car I've ever bought.
I vaguely remember that car. I remember a little bit because you still had it when we moved to Utah.
Oh, yeah. I had it
Wow.
until
And
it got wrecked.
I was going to say, you totaled it in what, like 86,
Something like
87?
that.
Yeah.
But I was
One of the first of many cars
Hey, I
said
respect
person
that,
is
Mark.
totaled. So, all right. So you guys met around 79. When did you guys get married?
79.
79.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, obviously, most people don't know this, but you guys got married at a pretty famous spot.
Yes, we did. It's in a place called Portuguese Bend, and that's Palos Verdes Peninsula in Southern California. And recently it's been known for the big landslides that have been happening there. And so the ground is very unsettled. It's right there on a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there's a chapel up there called Wayfarer's Chapel. And it was built by Frank Lloyd Wright. I always have to think. And he was very famous for incorporating nature into his architecture. So, yeah, and I would drive past that place going to piano lessons sometimes 3 times a week. And I always said, that's where I want to get married.
There you
And
go.
that's where we got married.
And that's where it
Now, you got to
happened.
remember, this is what they call the glass chapel because
Right.
Yeah.
the walls were made out of glass.
Right.
Yeah,
It was,
everything was glass.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
I remember taking Shanna there one time when we were out in California.
Mhm.
We didn't go in the chapel, but we drove
Oh.
in the parking lot.
Yeah.
There was a wedding going on,
Oh,
obviously.
right.
So we're lucky we even got into the parking lot. But
Mhm.
yeah, we just drove into the parking lot. We kind of looked around, then we drove right back out.
Okay.
The Palos Verdes area is a really, really nice area.
It is.
So I mean, the weather's gorgeous.
Right.
It's a very, very nice area.
It is a nice area. And the chapel at the time was built at a point that was called Pirates Cove down below,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
Palos Verdes Drive North. Anyway, and on a clear day, you could see Catalina Island.
Oh, okay.
Just so pretty.
Yeah, Catalina Island's fun. I remember we went there. Man, I think it was right around maybe when I was 10. We went to the island,
Mm-hmm.
and like I think Dad was taking pictures or something.
Mm-hmm.
So
No vehicles
no,
on Catalina Island. You can't drive a car.
that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. And then obviously you guys got married in '79.
Mm-hmm.
When you moved out to Utah in '84.
84, right.
Okay. Nice. So
I came out here to buy a house
yeah.
because when I came out here, the houses were very reasonable.
Yeah.
And it was easy enough to, on my work pay, to be able to afford to get a house.
Yes, as opposed to California, which
Right.
is still semi the case nowadays, even though
Right.
we all know the housing market's getting a little nuts out there. But
It is true. And another factor that played into that was I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was a choice that I wanted.
Yeah,
And Mark was supportive of it, so it was important to find a place
that was reasonable.
that his salary could sustain.
Yeah. And I remember kind of hearing a story of how you got into it with Nana about coming out here because she was not happy
No.
about us moving to Utah, and you kind of had to put your foot down. And again, for those, I mean, I love her to death. We love her. She's
Right.
she's
We
my
do.
grandma. She's your mom.
Yeah.
She's your mother-in-law. So you may or may not like her. Who knows? But she is very stubborn, and she will she fights to get what she wants,
Yeah.
which is a good trait in some aspects.
Yeah.
Yes.
But she does, if she doesn't like it, then it's like it ain't happening. So the fact
Yeah.
that we moved here is like a semi act of God. Okay.
That's
so
true.
yeah, it's very true because she did not want her family moving away.
Right.
Because at that time Nancy still lived in there. Okay, Nancy is your sister,
Right.
my aunt. She still lived in California.
Yeah, she
So
did.
like everybody
Right.
encompassing with the Pitt side of the family, which
Yeah.
again, reference point, Pitts is your maiden name.
Right.
Everybody on the Pitt side of the family was still in
Right.
California.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that someone left
Right.
was interesting, even though after you guys got married, you guys moved to Miami,
Right.
right?
Right.
How long so obviously you stayed in Miami from what, 79 to 81?
Yeah, about.
Yeah,
I
Because
think
I was going
that's
to say,
right.
Amy was born in 80
Mm-hmm.
in Miami.
Right.
Yeah, the only
then-
reason we left Miami is because they closed the station on me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The Western Airlines wanted to get the Miami-London route. It was supposed to be, but the government gave it to another airline. So since they weren't going to get that route, they
Okay.
said, well, we don't need to fly out here anymore. And they closed the station.
I've always wondered why you moved from Miami to LA in like a relatively short amount of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
they-
that's a huge move.
They
Yeah.
closed the station, which
That
was
was
nice
it.
because they gave me a paid move.
Oh, okay.
The government, I mean, not the government, but the company paid for the move all the way out to California.
That's nice.
So I was able to get them to pack up the apartment we had
Yeah.
and move everything out to Los Angeles.
Okay.
So,
Now-
side note.
Yeah.
Can I add
Yeah,
a side
absolutely.
note? So no big deal moving to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no big deal there. But moving from LA to Salt Lake City, that was a big deal
Yeah.
because grandchildren were involved at that point.
I was gonna say,
And
yeah,
by
because she
golly,
didn't seem to
she
have.
wants more grandchildren.
Yeah, I was gonna say it. It didn't seem like she had an issue with you moving to Miami.
No, but there weren't grandchildren
Not
involved.
yet.
Yeah, not yet.
And then you move back, and then obviously you have Amy, and then I
Right.
get born,
Right.
and now she's like,
The only male child born to my side of the family in 5 generations.
yes. So I like what she just said. I was the first male born on the Pitt side of the family for 5 generations. Like, for example, my great grandma Mimi, we called her Mimi.
Yeah.
She had 3 daughters. Those 3 daughters in turn had 2 daughters each.
Right.
And then you were the oldest out of the daughters. Then you have Amy,
Right.
which is a daughter, and they thought it
Right.
was all going to start all over
And
again.
all over again.
So
But it didn't.
no,
It
I
didn't.
was born, and basically I could do no wrong.
Well, I
Yeah,
actually
that was the family opinion amongst the women.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. And my grandmother, Mimi, she thought you walked on water.
Yeah, we loved Mimi.
We did.
She unfortunately left us in what, 08, 09? I can't remember.
I can't
It's
remember. It's been
unfortunately,
a
it's been a
long
long time, but we still miss her every day. So
Yes.
she was the epitome of what a woman should be. Very gentle, very nice. Her and Papa would give the shirt off their back if somebody needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were a great family. Great
Now
family.
you also got to remember, JR, when we moved to Miami, that was my side of the family.
Yes.
My
Now-
mom and dad lived in Miami.
I was gonna say,
Right.
piggybacking on that, also FYI, my family calls me JR because my dad's name is Mark. So to avoid confusion,
Yeah.
your dad
My dad.
started just because Junior is JR. So instead of
Right.
calling me Junior,
There you go.
everybody just started calling me JR. So if you hear people call me JR in this episode, that's what my family calls me. So,
Sorry.
no. Total. That's just so everybody's like, who the hell is this JR
Yeah.
guy?
Is there another person on the
Yeah.
podcast?
So your family's in Miami.
Right.
Okay. Now you coming over to that scenario, it's quite literally a culture shock.
It definitely
Because
was. Yeah.
The Diaz obviously are a Latin family, and you're your typical
Yeah,
like
they're all from
homebred
Cuba.
Caucasian family.
Right. Just
So the culture differences, like, kind of talk about those a little bit, coming from Southern California
right.
to a Latin family in Miami.
Well, the thing that, looking back on it, I can say this, but at the time I was basically in a state of confusion. So, was the level of noise. Somebody was talking all the time.
Yeah. They are
Well,
pretty
not
loud.
someone, but everyone. Let me say that. Everyone was talking
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, and
That's
that
a
was the hardest
That's a
thing.
natural Cuban reaction. To,
Yeah, the Diaz
Family.
families talk a lot and they're loud.
Yeah,
It's honestly, I equate it to, like, for my own personal scenario, Shanna's family, the Carltons, they are crazy loud, and everybody tries to talk over everybody.
yeah.
So and then they consider my family quiet.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
well, yeah. I guess we are. That's
Yeah, so So the level of noise, everybody's talking. I remember hearing you say, both of you guys telling stories of like the women would be in the kitchen cooking food, and all of a sudden all the men would disappear.
Right.
And they would be they would go in the backyard and do cockfighting, which was illegal at the time.
Right. It's true. It's true. I didn't know such a thing existed.
Yeah.
Boy, did I grow up leaving Los Angeles and going to Miami. I did not know there was such a thing.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in the kitchen with Maria, Ana Maria, that was Dad's mother, and she was making fried plantains. And they were plantains, and they were so good. Oh my goodness!
They're nice and juicy.
Yes,
They weren't hard. They were juicy.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. You can't do that with a regular banana.
No.
You got to get those green ones from Miami and the Mediterranean.
Yeah, and I do remember Grandma Diaz.
Actually, they had to be black.
Yeah, Grandma Diaz was a phenomenal cook. Like, she could make anything and everything.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I remember going to like anytime we went to Miami, it was like the best food you could have every day.
Right.
Well, my mom actually was very good in a lot of things. She made my tuxedo when I went to my prom.
Yeah, and she also made your sister's wedding dresses, right?
She was a great seamstress.
She was very multi-talented that way. That was one of the things that worked with Grandma and Grandpa Diaz. Is Grandpa Diaz is very much the like ringleader showcase, like the life of the party. Yeah. So he would always be in front of the because they'd always love to entertain. So he'd always be in the front room telling jokes and stories and this and that, like keeping everybody having a lot of fun. And she'd always be in the back, like getting food ready and like taking care of all of that stuff. So it's like the combination of the two worked.
It did.
And I always remember, I was always thinking, I was like, my goodness, like how did they, since I have learned how they've met, but it's like, man, it was in the South in Alabama.
Yeah.
Back during like
World War II.
An age where unfortunately we had some racial differences.
Right.
And you have a Latin man marrying a white Southern girl.
Southern Belle.
Like, I was like, how in the world did that even work?
I can't get that story out of anybody.
Yeah, especially back in that time.
Absolutely.
That was probably frowned upon. Because Grandpa was a very dark-skinned Latin. So.
And he had that hair.
That jet black hair. And honestly, he looks like he should have been a part of the Sharks in West Side Story.
Oh,
like he'd have been in that gang.
Right.
Okay. Like that was his look, and he had a slight accent, but not much.
No, he was
because he was an American.
Yes.
So.
He grew up in New York.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what he says. He did not grow up in New York.
Yeah, well, sometimes some of
he did grow up in New York. See, this is where Grandpa. I love him to death, and I love how he is a full-blooded American.
Right.
He was born in Cuba.
Right.
Okay. He will not tell anybody he was born in Cuba. He was born in Staten Island, New York.
Yeah.
No, Grandpa, that's where you immigrated to.
Yes.
So you went through the port of entry.
Right.
In Staten Island, New York.
No, my granddad was a United States citizen. Jay.
No, he was.
Yeah,
but Grandpa was born in Cuba.
Yeah.
So Grandpa was Cuban. Now, great-great-grandpa, he was dual citizenship.
Right.
So he was an American citizen and a Cuban citizen.
Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, so that is true. But Grandpa Diaz, he was born in Cuba.
Right.
Like, he had to gain citizenship by coming into Staten Island, New York. That's why they went to Staten Island.
Oh, okay.
'Cause, or at least that's the only logical reason. Because why would you go from Cuba to Staten Island, then back down to Miami?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense. Just go to Miami if you were a citizen, you know? But yeah, Grandpa will... He is an American.
Yes.
If you try to tell him he's Cuban, he'll tell you otherwise, and then you listen to him and you're like, but wait a minute, Where's the accent from?
Right.
And he's like, it's from Southern Miami.
You know,
Southern Cuba.
Yeah.
actually, it was when we lived in Miami, you know, particularly in 79 and 80. This was when he was at the airport. He would use the word spangle. And now, you know, we hear it a lot, but that was the first time I heard that. He did not like spangle.
Yeah.
You don't mix them.
No. And he would not speak Spanish at home.
Right.
He only spoke English. I rarely heard him speak Spanish.
Right.
Even though he was fluent and still is fluent at it.
Right.
He's still alive, by the way.
Yeah.
He's 100 years old.
100 years old.
You were able to go out. You went too.
I did.
Yeah, you guys went out for his 100th birthday.
Yeah.
So that was in May?
It was in May.
Yeah. So in May, he turned 100 years old.
He did. Wow.
But so that little bit of background about yourselves. So obviously we could spend the whole show on that, but we've got more to go.
Okay.
So real quick, here's a word from our sponsor.
Ninjas in the house.
You check it, Dojo Vibes, got something to share. TRUMOTION merch shop, got that ninja flair. Shirts and hoodies, slick like Bruce Lee. Karate thread sharp like a kick to the knee. Custom names and colors like a lightsaber's glow. You're the Jedi, watch how your style gon' flow. Scan that code, jump in, it's time to score. With gear so fresh, you'll be wanting more. TRUMOTION merch where the fit's on point. Dressing up clean like $1 billion joint. TRUMOTION, safe stacks like Bruce. Get your swag right, man, no excuse. From the mat to the street, stepping like Jan. Gear so fly like your own stunt man. Personalize it like your own Stark Tech. Karate gear tight like a chop to the neck. You name your colors like a comic book villain. Step in the light while you're laid back chillin'. Scan the code, it's your time to rise. With your motion gear, you'll take the prize. TRUMOTION merch where the fit's on point. Dressing up clean like $1 billion joint. TRUMOTION, safe stacks like Bruce. Get your swag right, man, no excuse. Yeah, TRUMOTION's the wave, call it the new rave. Get your gear, step up, now time to behave. Scan that code, the deal's too sweet. Karate swag's here, time to bring the heat.
Thank you, sponsor. Now here's a word. Moving on to our top 5. Top 5 this week is, because we're around Halloween time for the recording of this episode, is top 5 Halloween candy. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Dad, we'll start with you. It doesn't have to be like in any particular order. Just what are your top 5 Halloween candy?
Okay, we gotta have Snicker bars,
Yep, you and your Snicker bars.
and then we gotta have Milky Way,
Okay.
Baby Ruth.
A Baby Ruth. Okay.
Yeah, Baby Ruth.
Do they still make those?
Oh yeah, they still make baby. I'm not that old.
I think of Baby Ruth. I think of Goonies.
know.
Yeah, it's like Baby Ruth.
And then I guess you gotta go with the if you're gonna go with the hard candy, you got the what's it? Yellow.
The Jolly Ranchers?
No, the
The
old people have
lemon heads.
no, the
Oh, butterscotch.
butterscotch.
Okay, so you got 4. What's your last one?
Okay, last one. I guess a lollipop or
Just a sucker?
yeah, just
Okay, so a sucker. All right, what are your top 5, Mom?
Okay, well, definitely a Milky Way. Thank
Milky
you,
Way.
Mark, for saying Milky Way. Okay, so Milky Way Kit Kat.
Oh,
Ooh,
Kit
Kit
Kats.
Kat.
All
Uh-huh.
right.
There you are. A caramel apples.
Okay, yep.
Well, can't
Yep.
go wrong with caramel apples.
Those are good.
Popcorn ball.
Popcorn ball. Yeah, those used to be a big thing, and they still kind of are. People still give those
Yeah,
out.
they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was
I
that
hate to say,
4?
but
That
you gotta
was
go with
four.
you gotta go
Yeah.
with Hershey chocolate bar.
Hey, is that your honorable mention?
Yeah, that's my
Mr. I already have 5. Okay, so just a plain old Hershey bar.
Yeah, well, the chocolate bar.
Yeah, plain old Hershey chocolate bar.
Oh, I have an honorable mention.
We got one more.
I do?
Yeah.
Okay. Mounds.
Mounds. Okay.
I almost forgot. How do I say it without the almond?
Okay. Yeah, mounds.
I'm
Yeah.
right? Yes.
The coconut and chocolate.
Yes.
Okay.
There you
Nice.
go.
All right. That's a
That's
pretty
my
good
top
list.
5.
I've got Almond Joys because I like the almonds. So Almond Joys, Airheads. The like
cracklies.
Yeah. I don't even know what you would call it. It's not a licorice,
No.
but it's like chewy and it's not a gummy.
Oh.
So I really don't know what you would describe Airheads as. But they're soft and you can pull them. But Airheads,
Okay.
Milky Ways, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and just about anything gummy. Like if it's gummy, like
You're in.
I'm in. So, but yeah, I mean, honestly, like Halloween candy, you really can't go wrong with.
That's
so.
true.
And
But certain ones are just Halloween. You know?
Yeah, I mean, anybody that gives, like, I'm not a big cinnamony candy fan. It's like if they give like those Red Hots or whatever, I'm like, eh.
Or even candy corn.
Yeah, candy corn. I don't even know really what you would classify that as.
A decoration.
Yeah, and then I remember they have those like candy corn style pumpkins where they're in the shape of a pumpkin.
Huh.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember. Yeah. Put them on cupcakes.
Yes, normally they'd go on cupcakes. I mean, candy corns, man, you have like just one or two and you're like, okay, I'm all right. Yeah, they're definitely an interesting candy. I don't even, like you said, they're more decorations.
Yeah, it's a decoration.
So, but let us know what your guys' top 5 are. If you like the list, if there's anything you would add. I think it's a pretty good list. I mean, there's not a whole lot of like crazy candies out there. So
No,
I did forget about the Kit Kats. Those were good. Or Twix.
Yeah.
Twix are pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, you just really can't go wrong with candy. So.
You can't. I'm hungry.
Yeah. But moving on to Ask a Sensei. All right. Well, this week it's normally Ask a Sensei, but we're going to change it to Ask the Parents. So these questions are kind of geared more towards like you guys and parents and, all that stuff. So, yeah, we'll kind of go from there. So question number 1 are what are some challenges parents have today or now that you did not have when you were parents and vice versa? So let's start with the first part of the question. What are some challenges parents nowadays have that you guys did not have as parents, like raising me?
Yeah.
So,
Trying to keep kids off the cell phones.
okay, so technology. Technology is a huge
Technology,
problem. Yeah, I would tend to agree. I mean, man, it's funny because your parents could probably say that about you guys, technology.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's interesting how technology it's always been an evolving good, but also an ever evolving problem.
Right.
So, but like I agree, like, cell phones. I mean, every kid's got a cell phone now. Now
Right.
schools are building cell phone policies into their programs. In fact, we were talking about that yesterday with the teens and adults, is a lot of the teens are talking about how they're changing their cell phone program or policy at school. So if they catch you with it anywhere in the hall, in class, they can confiscate it. And I'm just thinking, well, why do you even need it in school? It's like, well, so people can get a hold of me.
All right.
Well, no, the people that need to get a hold of you know where you're at.
Yeah.
So you technically really don't need a cell phone in school. Now, if you want to have one and it's in your backpack and then when you're done with school, okay, but do you have enough self-control not to pull it out of your backpack?
Right.
So,
Right. The point of view has just shifted.
yeah.
I think a lot. When you were saying about, well, what if somebody needs to get a hold of me? Okay, that's kind of the biggest thing. What if I need to get a hold of my child? What if my child needs to get a hold of me? People are just, I think, frustrated with trying to go through the normal channels of getting information, either being put on hold or redirected, one or the other, that if they can get right to the source, why
not
wouldn't
having
they
that-
want to?
That instant access.
But I see the other side as well.
That makes a lot of sense. A lot of people, we become so impatient that we can't call the office and then have the office get a hold of the kid. It's like, why would I call the office when I can just call the kid directly?
Right.
It's more efficient. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
It's also causing a problem.
It's true. Yeah.
So technology, anything else you guys can think of that parents nowadays are facing that as parents back in the day you didn't really have to face?
Right. Okay. Not taking a political stance one way or the other, but basic anatomy and biology.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of parents and kids are being bombarded with a lot of information that I never had to deal with as a kid.
Right.
So, and like second guessing things, and then rights being taken away from parents too.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I think that's an ongoing issue also. But yeah, navigating that whole spectrum of events, in encompassing the word spectrum, there's a higher level of kids with autism nowadays, or at least diagnosed autism.
Right.
So there's that level of complexity as well. Even though I'm becoming more aware, and I'm taking the stance of, yes, autism is actually real. Yes, my son has autism. He's on the spectrum.
Right.
It's not much of a disability as everybody's letting it on to be. Unless you are so far on one side that you're nonverbal, every other side of the spectrum, they have their challenges, but there's nothing stopping them from having a very fulfilling, successful life.
Right.
Like I look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk kind of ruined it for everybody in a good way.
Oh,
In a good way. Yeah,
because he's so high functioning.
He's so high functioning. Like he has autism. He has Asperger's.
Asperger's,
And he's a billionaire.
Right.
So it's like, okay.
It's a complicated issue.
Yeah, it really is. And then I look at myself, I go, well, what's my problem? But that's very debatable just from my own personal experience. It's almost, for some people, it's almost an enhancement. Because some forms of autism, it allows them to extremely focus on certain tasks.
Right.
So it's like, that would be great for a lot of people.
Right.
So
yeah,
depending on the level of severity, like they're just normal people.
Right. That's not to say that there wasn't autism back in our day. So how...
But it wasn't widely spread diagnosed or even diagnosed at the time.
Yeah, the stout...
A little bit. They knew something was off with certain kids and people, but we didn't know what. Like, I think I remember telling you when we went on the stadium tour for the Eagle Stadium in Philadelphia, the owner of the Eagles, Robert Laurie, his brother had autism, even though at the time they didn't know it was autism.
Right.
So the Eagles organization is very, very much in the whole autism research and like fundraising and all that stuff.
Right. Well, like with anything, the more we learn about it, we realize, okay, well, it's not as minute or small or rare that we once thought. Because I know from the studies that I had to do in college about autism, the understanding was a lot different then than it is now. And there certainly wasn't the range, which we call spectrum now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was like one thing. Yeah, it's like autism. That was it.
Yeah.
Now that, like you said, there's an entire spectrum.
There is. Yeah.
Like, for example, yeah. Well, yeah. There's just,
Whole nother
Asperger's.
topic for sure.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
with our understanding comes better acceptance and better ways of adapting.
Yeah, you bet. I agree with you, Dad. The whole technology thing, that's something that parents have to navigate. That's way harder for them.
Yeah.
Because we didn't really have we didn't have the technology that they have now. You
Right.
know?
Brick phone was the new
Yeah,
cell
and
phone.
that was even like later on, and
Right.
but like cyberbullying and
Oh yeah.
like getting on and like exposure to things. And I think one of the things that parents nowadays, and it's not necessarily a good thing, but that we didn't have as when I was a kid, is like the amount of information people have.
Right.
Now you think, how could that be
Right.
bad? Okay, well now we don't let kids be kids because we're too scared to let them go out into the world.
Right. We're afraid that if they go
Right.
out,
They're going to get
Some-
hurt,
yeah,
or
somebody's
somebody's going
gonna
to abduct
take 'em.
them. Exactly. Like when I was a kid, man, you would just be like, call me when you get to so-and-so's house. That's it. Or like, hey, you got to be in before dark. That's it. Nowadays, it's like, there's no way in hell I'd let a kid do that, because
Yeah.
it's like you get online and there's a list of sexual predators in your neighborhood.
Right.
that's another thing. The computer.
Yeah.
The messaging on computers. Anybody can write what they want.
Yeah, a lot of
And that
people get
fear to be-
catfished. Oh yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, everybody can say whatever they want without fear of being punched in the face.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause,
Yeah.
You know, back in my day, you had to talk to them head on.
Yep. And if you said the wrong thing, there's that
Yeah,
ever looming fear of
getting smacked down.
getting punched in the face.
But then it was all better afterwards.
Yes, exactly. I'm not advocating for violence.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's exactly right. When you had a problem with somebody, you literally had it out right then and there, and then it was over.
Right.
Okay. Nowadays, unfortunately,
It keeps going.
kids have it out, but they don't have a way to express themselves or an
Yes.
outlet.
Right.
Then all of a sudden they bottle it up, and then all of a sudden a insult turns into this cancerous, festering thought in your head,
Right.
and then they go to extremes.
Right.
Right. Which, side note, when you were asking me about the Dream Center, and when we decided to put boxing and karate as part of the curriculum, I was really torn. Is it really a good idea to do that in an area that has gang activity? You know, we're just we're teaching them to fight better, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so I interviewed, a sensei about it and asked his opinion. And at that time, he said it was a good thing because you're teaching them discipline. You're teaching them self-control. You're teaching them to do things the right way.
Yeah.
So I can see that there's a place for it, but, learning to use those kind of restraints.
It's very interesting. People that know how to fight tend not to fight.
Yeah.
Right.
So I know this will never happen, but like I am a huge advocate for like the gym teacher to have a set of like boxing gear,
Right.
headgear and gloves, a set of each or two sets. Why? So if kids have an issue, they can literally have it out right there in a safe scenario where they do actually have a physical or violent conflict, but then it's over.
Right.
It's like, okay, you guys have 2 minutes in the ring. That you got to figure it out
Yeah,
right
but
there.
the
and
only
there.
problem with that is the parents would say that's too violent.
Yeah,
and
I
then
know.
they
See
fire
that?
the
I know
coach.
that will never happen. But if they truly want bullying to stop,
Yeah,
they got to allow kids to fight back.
right.
Because right now, this whole zero tolerance policy is garbage. It's complete garbage. Why? It's enabling the bullies to pick on kids because they know that kid will not fight back. Because if they fight back, that they're both in trouble. And we all know it's not the first thing that happens that gets caught. Right?
It's like in football, the guy that
so
gets
true.
penalized is always the guy
that reacts.
to
Exactly. So the kid that all of a sudden hauls off and decks somebody, they get expelled because they punched somebody.
Right.
But they didn't know that the kid that they punched has been tormenting him for 4 months. Making it to where he physically gets sick and doesn't want to go to school because he'll see this kid.
Right.
They don't see that. But yet, oh man, the kid that stood up for himself, he's a troublemaker, he's out.
Right.
So I know it'll never happen.
Right. I know.
But it's funny because nobody has issues here. Nobody. Everybody gets along with each other here.
Yeah.
Why? Because every Saturday we spar. They punch each other.
Right.
Now, there's been times where I've had to like pull people in the office and be like, okay, obviously there's clearly an issue between you two. What's going on? And then they all of a sudden they talk it out and then they already hit each other. It's over. So it's all done.
There you go.
But yeah, that I think that's something, information. Having too much information has paralyzed parents from letting kids be kids.
Right.
Like I said the other day, that joke about, I don't think you heard it, Dad, but I was scrolling through Instagram and I came across somebody telling a joke about how you never see kids in casts anymore. Okay. Because if you think about it, if you look around, you don't see kids in casts.
Yeah.
And he again, I don't know who the comedian was. I wish I could find him because it was phenomenal. So these are not my jokes. These are not my ideas.
Right.
He was basically saying, he goes, man, you don't see kids in casts anymore. When I was a kid and he walked into my 3rd and 4th grade class, it looked like a Vietnam trauma unit.
Oh, no.
Like this person was in a cast, this person was in a cast, this person broke this person sprained that.
It's
stitches. Yeah, exactly. Someone had stitches. He goes, and we'd be able to sign everybody's cast and this and that. And he goes, nowadays, he goes, what are you going to sign? Somebody's crippling anxiety? And it's like, it's true. It's very true. Now, that being said, anxiety is a thing. I understand
it is
that.
a thing.
I'm not poking fun at mental illness.
No, I understand.
But you don't see kids like breaking things anymore. They're not out there being kids.
Right.
They're not, I don't want to say they need to hurt themselves, but like.
Gosh, it's even hard to know how to define that.
Exactly.
Because, before, well, kids just playing out in the fields. I know, okay, I've always been a city girl. My dad and my mom were brought up in southern Illinois, down there where the Mississippi meets the Ohio.
Okay.
It's Mark Twain territory. Anyway, we would go back and visit our grandparents every summer. And it was just always an adventure to go back in the woods. We found this old trail that, caravans, and they'd throw their bottles. It was fun stuff, discovering what was back there.
Oh, yeah. Like, again, like you don't see, like we've almost made things too safe. Because I think of like the playground equipment I played on. There's no way in hell that would be allowed nowadays.
Yeah.
And like, I don't even know the playground stuff you guys played on. But you look at all the stuff they play with now, it's almost too safe. Where there's no looming threat of anything bad happening.
Well, they say you don't really learn things when it's all going well.
Yeah, exactly.
So are we inhibiting our children from learning
exactly,
exercising decision making,
Yeah. I think Jordan Peterson says it the best. There's like, you need to allow kids to be kids without severe damage possibly happening. It's like they need to be in dangerous situations without something permanent possibly happening. Like if they're like climbing on the roof, like, all right, hey, get down.
Yeah.
But if they're like climbing in a tree and it's not very high, let them climb in the tree.
Yeah.
If they fall
absolutely.
off, they may hurt themselves, but those are decision-making things that they need to have learned.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, climbing up there, those branches are weak. I fell off. I'm not going back up there.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Exactly.
So I remember in Murray Park, they used to have an old fighter jet. Do you remember that?
I do. And
It was a metal, hollowed out fighter jet.
it would get
in-
hot as
In the
a
summer, you would come out with like 3rd-degree burns because that sucker you touch it and it would like sear your skin. But everybody played on it.
They did.
And same thing with slides.
Oh, yeah.
All the slides were metal, and you would start getting down, and if any skin whatsoever touched it, you would stick, and it would just be like that, and just like rub you raw. And then you get down, and you'd be like, "Oh gosh, my leg!" And then you'd go back.
And you jump back up and
You go back up, and you do it again.
I'm okay.
Yeah, or like
You have reached the end of this part of our interview. You will be able to hear more on our next episode. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great day.